So when we start to talk about these goddamn energies and shit like that, all this shit, when you start to predicate on a thought and feeling, right, you need to harness on it, regardless if the one, two, and third dimension appear to be like it. Now, it's like having consonant dissonance in God's way, not necessarily disregarding the one, two, and third dimension, running away from your responsibilities, not taking care of these things. No, actually be aware of these things, but actually having that intent on your mind, aka you know the third dimension may not match the fourth and the sixth dimension, but you know this is what you're doing in the process. Your intent matters most. The action ain't shit. The word ain't shit without the intent, without the intuition, without the inner vibe. The word was created with the vibe. So without the intent, what you expressing don't mean shit. What you practicing don't mean shit. And you can have, based upon having a naive, sheltered mind, you can have all the good intentions for another person in the world. But based upon your intent not being strong and foundated, when you come across another individual, you may express energies of being naive. You might get ready to manifest the energy of getting your kindness being took for weakness. So you got to keep that in mind also. So it's not being in a consonant dissonance where you know what's going on, but you're blinding yourself from what's going on. No, you well aware that the one, two, and third dimension may not necessarily match at the moment. You well aware of that goddamn shit. And you well aware of how to fight fire with fire at a time that things is taking you too far away from what you're imagining at the moment. But as long as you keep that as a form and intent, and and we know spaceships, mental forms, this ain't nothing but a collection of thoughts and feelings. Make sure they're good seeds, good thoughts, visions, and waters, emotion. Therefore, if you put more seconds and minutes and hours, you showing God you a bad motherfucker. You showing gods and goddesses more of your spiritual predecessors. Fuck that ancestor term. You showing more of your spiritual predecessors. You a bad motherfucker. So at this aspect, this is God like, okay, I could trust this individual because if I give them a little bit of crumbs and they see it as more than what it actually is, they're not going to look at that as a form of stopping. They're not going to look at that as a form of, I made it. They're going to look at that as a form of, let me utilize this so I can spring off more. Even if this needs to be sacrificed. And even if it appear to be more of the external world looking at what I just obtained to care about it more than it actually need to be, let me not use this as a form of claiming why I'm better than others. Let me still kind of transmute this because I know I'm still on some type of secret mission. When you in that kind of energy, God look at that like, oh, okay, this is a bad motherfucker right here. I could trust them. So I can even take them to even more hellistic situations I haven't experienced to even grab more souls up and see a new way in life. And I can use this person because I know if I take them through this situation, they're not going to be weak enough to fall with those people I'm bringing them amongst. But at the same time, they're going to have that wisdom and I can use that person as a vessel to inspire them as a new possible way to get out of that situation without them killing that person in the process that I'm using as a vessel because I had to bring that person just as low as them so no egos don't be involved. But it had to be that person I took something away from for that person to cry to feel like they lost something, for them to have the intelligence to get up out of something. So it's my only way to work with my children. Hopefully this is my special children that finish the mission though. And don't get scared of any little thing I'm taking it through. You get it? This is how when every time you get strong, sometimes you question yourself why it seems like you're getting punished. You're on this mission. The stronger you get, you'll reach that motherfucking goal. All of this is that Saturnalia, Billy Go esoteric astrology though. This is what I teach. Fuck Western, Eastern, and Vedic. We'll bring that together. Once we get the grounding point and how all humans made this shit up in the first place. This is areas we all can go to ourselves, as above, so below, as the true equilibrium, not picking one over the other. Oh, it's more inside, or it's more outside. No, they all the same. Once you understand we created it all from the inside out. So having equilibrium, you won't get polarized or no bias, where you understand how to bring things together and then you present the knowledge the way it's supposed to be presented. So when we start to talk about having that structure and shit like that, that's actually being in a form where you're playing out more consistency than stubbornness. And then that's when you play out your original Saturn cycle in God's will. That kind of will, willing things into your existence. Your wishing will. When you want change, esoteric currency. So you throw your ability to come up with a different idea and a different feeling, that's your gold mine. And you throw it in your wishing well, aka the wishing well we all create as a teamwork makes the dream work. And then that starts to materialize and things of that nature, right? And then for the most part, you will things into this existence because you put change in there. Change, esoteric currency is this anytime you create an intellectual property. You create a new thought and feeling. So that's a new thought that's getting ready to change or oppose something that's already there, something that's already here. So that's the esoteric knowledge of the wishing well. And that's what made Masons actually make a wishing well. Remember, all of this shit in our mind first. So humans had to write it down, actually care about it before you can even be aware of it. So you need to start being aware of yourself and the as above, so below, as within, so without, so you can start making equilibrium correspondences. So you don't be behind in any type of large spiritual race we are all in. So for the most part, when we start to to talk about grounding and things of that nature, this is when we have to put ourselves into a situation where you understand the consonant dissonance, but you're not a fucking fool. Where you understand that, okay, the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, you are aware that it may not necessarily match. Now, you have the right thoughts, you have the right feelings, you have the right circumstances, you have the right way of going about things without being a fool or leading yourself into a worse situation. Now you can be used for God, and you can know that you got what you got coming for you in some way, shape, or form without letting the certain events that you're going through persuade you. And that's what makes you a strong, powerful spirit. And it's what make you have the billy goat knees. And it's also what helps us structure our organs down here with that chakra that banded on itself and made that organ and that bone marrow. So anytime you have something to stand on, a person who don't have nothing to stand on will fall for anything. That's the spiritual transit chakra we was creating with that water wheel, that when we bent in on ourselves, that was the part of the area that we was in our individual spaces in our lower part that had bent in and created the kneecaps and the organs and stuff like that. So keep that in mind also. And the shin for its masculine side and shit like that, which will be the 11th house area, Aquarius area. So for the most part, that's what you're supposed to actually do if you want to manifest in some way, shape, or form.